If you're learning cybersecurity but ignoring cloud, you're leaving a huge gap in your skill set. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to break down exactly why the cloud isn't just some distant future. It is absolutely already here.
Cybersecurity is changing. The days of relying solely on traditional on-premise infrastructure, those are rapidly fading in the rearview mirror.
Okay, let's dive into this. Modern applications increasingly depend on cloud infrastructure, APIs, identity systems, and increasingly AI workloads.
Because of this shift, the attack surface has completely moved. We aren't just defending standard physical servers anymore. No way. We're talking about dynamic environments on AWS, Azure, GCP, built on containers, serverless architectures, and powered by dedicated AI infrastructure. You literally have to approach this new landscape with absolute urgency.
A modern security professional absolutely needs to understand exactly how all of these pieces connect. The old legacy castle and moat perimeter, it's gone. Today's reality is a modern stack where web security, identity, cloud, and AI are all constantly intersecting.
That's exactly why we're launching the SutraByte 6-week Cloud Security Challenge. It kicks off September 1st, taking you from absolute zero to mastering cloud attacks and risks. But hey, to really understand why this training is so critical right now, we have to look at the numbers.
Now, what's really interesting here is the sheer scale of the environment we're dealing with. $850 billion. That is Gartner's massive forecast for public cloud end-user spending in 2026. To put that into perspective, that's literally larger than the GDP of many countries. This isn't just some niche IT trend. It's a $1 trillion substrate powering the whole global digital economy. Healthcare, finance, logistics, it's all running here. And, well, you know how it goes in cybersecurity. When the money moves, the attackers inevitably follow. The attack surface has expanded to a scale we have simply never seen before.
And if we break down that massive market, the consolidation is super clear. Based on 2026 data, the big three providers utterly dominate the infrastructure. AWS holds the lion's share at 28%, Microsoft Azure is sitting at 21%, and Google Cloud's at 14%. So if you're a security student trying to figure out where to invest your time and focus your technical training, the data is practically screaming at you. This is exactly where the highest demand for your defensive skills is going to be for the next decade. Secure AWS, Azure, or GCP, and you make yourself completely indispensable.
But as this cloud infrastructure balloons, the threat landscape is escalating in some really unprecedented ways. We're now dealing with what we call state-adjacent threats. Basically, these are groups aligned with state interests who historically, they lacked top-tier technical skills. But right now, their gaps are being actively patched by generative AI. Take the Russian nexus group Grayvibe, for example. Historically, they weren't considered elite operators, but researchers recently watched them use AI to rapidly generate custom phishing lures and automate massive reconnaissance sweeps. They are pulling off complex operations that used to require a huge team of elite hackers, operating at a scale that was previously impossible for a group their size.
And this brilliantly illustrates what threat intelligence researchers are calling a compression of the gap between mid-tier and elite operators. Generative AI is basically acting as the great equalizer in cyber warfare. It significantly lowers the technical barrier to entry. This means actors with pretty poor foundational skills can suddenly execute highly advanced, automated cyber operations on a global scale. The baseline for what counts as a basic attack has permanently shifted, making defenses from just a couple of years ago hopelessly obsolete.
And these threat actors aren't just experimenting. They're utilizing generative AI to automate their entire attack pipelines right this second. They're using it for rapid malware development, generating custom obfuscators to dodge static detection on the fly. We're seeing unrealistic, AI-generated social engineering personas just tricking employees into handing over cloud credentials. Plus, they're deploying automated reconnaissance bots that can scan and exploit a misconfigured cloud bucket in minutes. The speed of the adversary has multiplied, meaning defenders have way less time to detect and respond to an intrusion before the data's gone.
So how do we actually defend against an accelerated AI-driven threat in a cloud-first world? Well, we have to turn to authoritative, battle-tested guidance. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, the absolute gold standard for security frameworks globally, laid it out clearly in Special Publication 1835. This document establishes zero trust architecture not just as some marketing buzzword, but as the mandatory defensive posture we absolutely have to adopt to survive. If you want to defend modern infrastructure, aligning with these federal standards is a must.
And NIST doesn't mince words here. They state explicitly, it is no longer feasible to simply protect data and resources at the perimeter of the enterprise environment.
Basically, the traditional corporate firewall is dead. With resources spread out across multiple clouds, accessed by remote workers using personal devices at coffee shops and home networks, the perimeter has completely dissolved. Organizations now have to protect resources individually, down to the granular level, regardless of where that data physically sits.
So the crucial point is, to survive in this industry, modern security professionals have to master these core zero-trust realities. You can't just trust a user because they happen to have a password. You must explicitly verify the context of every single access request. Who's asking? What device? What time? What location? You need continuous policy evaluation throughout the whole session, not just when they first log in. And honestly, you must fundamentally assume a baseline compromise has already happened, meaning your architecture has to ruthlessly limit lateral movement across the network. If an attacker gets in, they should be trapped in a tiny, isolated box. Now, understanding these concepts in theory is one thing, but actually applying them in a live, hostile cloud environment is a whole different ballgame. And that brings us right back to how you actually build these specific high-demand skills. The SutraByte 6-week roadmap is engineered exactly to bridge that massive gap between legacy security knowledge and these modern zero-trust realities. It's designed to take the theoretical and make it 100% practical.
We take you on this rapid, intensive hero's journey through the cloud. Week 1, you establish your concrete cloud foundations. Week 2 dives deep into identity security, because in the cloud, identity really is your new perimeter. Week 3 covers core services. Then, in Week 4, we completely flip the script to explore the attack surface straight from the adversary's point of view. Week 5 tackles the #1 cause of cloud breaches worldwide, misconfigurations. And finally, it all culminates in Week 6 with a full-blown hands-on attack simulation against a realistic fictional company called SutraCorp.
You're not just going to be sitting there watching passive lectures either. You'll be getting your hands dirty with highly relevant attack vectors. You'll learn to exploit and then secure vulnerabilities like server-side request forgery. You'll see firsthand how an SSRF vulnerability can be weaponized to query EC2 metadata and instantly steal temporary cloud credentials, completely bypassing firewalls. You'll also tackle real-world scenarios like S3 bucket exploitation, IAM privilege abuse, and public database exposures. These are literally the exact attacks making headlines every single day.
Let's move to and see how this builds into our signature teaching formula. You don't just memorize textbook definitions. You learn the concept, you build the vulnerable environment yourself, you break it from an attacker's perspective, analyze the actual risk it poses to a business, fix the vulnerability permanently, and then you document your findings in a professional report. You learn by doing. This whole cycle embeds the knowledge so deeply that when you face these issues on the job, you'll have the muscle memory to resolve them instantly.
And that really drives home our core differentiator. Look, anyone can learn how to click around and spin up a server in AWS, but you are going to learn exactly how AWS environments are attacked, assessed, and ultimately secured. We're shifting your mindset from a passive observer reading textbook theories into an active, highly capable cloud attack analyst. You are going to think like an attacker so you can defend like a professional.
So here's my challenge to you. Conquer this 6-week program first. Prove you can handle the front lines of modern cloud defense. And once you've mastered these attacks and risks, ask yourself, are you ready to advance to the elite 24-week cloud security engineering program? Like we said, the cloud isn't just the future anymore. It's already here. The only question left is, are you ready to secure